So you got Robert Thrash says that the jury acquits Thrash on all charges. This is alamosanews.com by Priscilla Wagner, Courier reporter. So just the general idea, he's the bail bondsman. The guy owes him, several $1,000s. He doesn't go to the court date like he says, so he goes to confront him. Him and his friend goes to confront him, and the guy is inside or is outside. He's not coming out. He knows he's in there. So he, I guess, goes inside, and then the guy shoots a gun. The guy shoots his friend. His friend goes to the hospital. So if you're a police officer, it seems like we don't ask any questions whatsoever. You say you got shot at. You say that the person has a pipe or a knife, and you shot and you murdered the guy. Then we just say, oh, okay, no big deal. But if you're a citizen, you're a bail bondsman, right? So that therefore you're not a sheriff or a sheriff's deputy. You don't have the color of law. Or actually, you have the color of law, but you don't have the specific, the actual. So let's just read some of this stuff here. The trial of Robert Thrash, 31, bondsman charged with second-degree murder and burglary. How insane, how ridiculous. For shooting Phil Lucero. Now, if let's say Michael Gonzales knows Phil Lucero and he didn't want Phil Lucero to get shot and killed. Well, you could have just dismissed the charges. You could have just threw him in jail for a day or two. And there's so many things that you could have put him on probation. You could have told him to do community service. But Michael Gonzales is this little weenie of a guy. So he's this tiny little, just a squirt. And since he's a squirt, he has to be a tough guy. And so since Phil Lucero was arrested on drug charges, well, he's got to make the cops' accusations stick. So he won't arrest the guy. He wouldn't go out and arrest him himself. But and then when the cops say that they're not going to do their damn job, what are you supposed to do? Just let the guy steal several $1,000s from you? So in the afternoon of December 8th, 2022, Thrash and his working buddy, they say his friend, 31-year-old David Heinstein, went to the residence of Veronica Lazoya. They said that's where Phil Lucero was staying. They said he violated a bond of $1,000 who Thrash had posted. He was employed, it's his own company, always open bail bonds. Lucero failed to appear in court on drug charges again. Aren't you free to do what you want with your own body? As it came out in the trial, Thrash and Heinstein were armed when they entered the residence. Thrash going in first, Heinstein entering when he heard yelling inside. Upon entering, Heinstein already had his weapon pulled. A struggle ensued between Thrash, who was armed, Lucero, who was not, and Heinstein. During the struggle, Lucero managed to gain control of Heinstein's gun, shooting Heinstein in the arm. In response, Thrash fired his weapon at Lucero, striking him multiple times. Lucero later died of his injuries. It was a complicated, rigorous case involving DNA samples, conflicting testimony, multiple witnesses. Thrash, who took the stand in his own defense. As also came out in the trial, the state of Colorado provides little guidance or regulation on what is considered to be legal, reasonable, or appropriate conduct by bondsmen, many of whom in the nature of their job find themselves in volatile situation. Yeah, so he's a regular citizen, expected to do the cop's job. A cop has lots of cop buddies. He's got the uniform. He's got the awesome state power. He's got the license to murder. He's got other friends who's got license to murder. The trial lasts 6 days, an entire day. Jury selection. Krista Newmeyer Olson was the district judge who mentioned a full docket excused the jury to go into deliberation, indicating she would order dinner for the jurors. So basically encourage them to deliberate into the night. Just keep talking and talking and talking and figure it out. After close to 5 full days of testimony, with some days going past 5 p.m., the jury was unanimous in their acquittal of all charges filed against Thrash after 3 hours of deliberation. So this is actually an incredible short trial. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, that trial went on for a month. This went on for 6 days. This is a nice, quick, little short trial. But Robert Thrash was in jail for 1.5 years before the trial. So he's in jail. He might get raped by the cops. He might get raped by, MS-13. He's getting a PhD in criminology. No telling what could happen when he's been there behind closed doors. He's got to get his people out there. He's got to get a lawyer somehow. He's got to get the money into the lawyer's hands. He's got to get a good lawyer, a lawyer who will actually defend him, not just take his money and screw him over. So eventually they get Riley Selleck defense counsel for Thrash. Riley Selleck, fucking awesome. Make sure anybody, if you need a lawyer, Riley Selleck is a good lawyer. He won his case. And he says, this was justice for Robert Thrash. It absolutely was. Robert saved the life of David Heinstein. Absolutely, and probably his own. During this trial, Robert was portrayed as being violent. He's out of control. The district attorney called him Rambo. Well, I guess apparently Kelley didn't know that. Rambo is a hero. Rambo is a hero. Those corrupt cops were fucking with him just because he was walking through their town. And then, he's Rambo in the other movies. He's just a strong, tough guy with gun, He's just he's a military man. He's basically a police officer. He's one of us. He was a Vietnam veteran. He went and fought the Russians in Afghanistan. Rambo's a badass. Rambo is awesome. Rambo knows right from wrong. Rambo did the right thing. Rambo is a hero. It's incredible. Somebody would be like, man, look at this person. What do you think, you're Rambo or something? What do you think, you're John Rambo? What's next? Who do you think, you're John Wick? Who the hell do you think you're Neo from the Matrix? It's like, do you think you're Simba from the Lion King? You're picking the heroes out of these movies and you're making it seem like the heroes are the bad thing. Nothing could be further from the truth. Robert is calm and intelligent young man, and there you go. So she's, exaggerating. He was calm. He's an intelligent young man. He is a calm and intelligent young man. On the day in question, he did the right and necessary thing. He absolutely did. Now, when it comes to police officers, Kelley doesn't have a problem at all. So here's her comment. She says, we're obviously disappointed with the outcome. Why? Why would you be disappointed with the outcome? I appreciate the hard work of the Alamosa Police Department in enabling my office to bring this important case to the community. This case highlights the need for clarity from our legislators around the regulation of the bondsman industry. What a bunch of total bullshit. Now here, let's take a look at this. So there's a guy, and we got a picture of him, right? Well, he's running outside with the knife, and you see the guy with the gun. He's going to die. He's going to shoot him. Well, this is just like Robert Thrash. Now, does Kelley arrest this guy at all? Do we get a jury trial at all? Now, it was a murder, so I do think that Robert Thrash should have gone through a jury trial, and that a jury of his peers, 12 of them, should have taken a look at it and, come up with the police responded to a welfare check on Tuesday. An 18-year-old is armed with knives, according to the police, author Richard Cote, Monte Vista, so the same district, 12th Judicial District. This is, last year, March, 18-year-old man was killed during a shooting involving Monte Vista police, 12:35. I guess it's on videotape, so you can see crystal clear who was right and who was wrong. But when did he pull his gun? He's got the gun on his side, so it's not like you didn't know he didn't have a gun. You probably should wait to pull the gun until there's a, life or death situation. Responded to a home in the 1200 block of South Broadway Street for a welfare check. Yeah, welfare check that turned into death. How'd that happen? The man's armed with 2 knives. There's charges trying to steal. You try to take a police officer's gun. That's a charge in of itself. Monte Vista Police, Sergeant Michael Martinez and Corporal David Pino, they arrived at the home. Man confronted them, armed with 2 knives. The 18-year-old ran towards the officers while swinging the knives. And then they're just, they're going to shoot and kill him. And neither one of them were arrested. Kelley wasn't worried about arresting him. Didn't think there's a dangerous Rambo on the street. Didn't say, what do you think? You're some sort of Rambo. Didn't throw him in jail. They didn't have to be threatened with possible rape by the jailers or the MS-13. They didn't have to get a defense attorney. They didn't have to worry about their name and reputation being totally tarnished. Cops have a license to murder. And even if they had no evidence of this guy, say oops, I forgot to turn the body camera on. Yeah, I know that happened, right? Sonia Massey's killer. Oops, forgot to turn the body camera on. So they deployed the taser. Martina fired his shotgun, his handgun. Pino fell to the ground and he fired his handgun. So as Pino fell to the ground, he retreated backwards, so he falls down. The teen is pronounced dead at the scene, identified by the Rio Grande County as Xavier Sanchez. R.I.P. to Xavier Sanchez. I wonder what was actually going on. And look at this. It's not like he's wearing a hood. He's got something over his head. What is this guy's clearly talking about having a mental health episode. Xavier Sanchez, neither officer is injured by the knives, so he didn't even touch him with the knives. There was actually an altercation. They were actually wrestling and fighting with one another. And then I bet you that's what Phil Lucero was thinking, was like, you're just regular citizens. You're not even a cop. I'm gonna fight with you. You're just a citizen. You're not allowed to do this. So that's another thing cops have, that if anybody wants to fight with them, you kind of know that they've, sort of gone past the point of no return. But if you're a regular citizen, you got so much more to worry about. Injured by the knives, Pino suffered minor injuries when he fell. The screenshots of body-worn camera from one of the Monte Vista Police Department, then they were administrative leave, so they'd get paid vacations. The name of the suspect has not been released. I thought, okay, so CBI is going to lead into the investigation. What's suspect? Is there something else going on? Is there another person involved in this? So my point with that is just that, that happened last year. That same, thing happened last year. None of the police officers got arrested. None of them had to endure a trial. Now, here's another thing. Okay, so he had fired on law enforcement officers. He didn't hit him, he didn't shoot him, and he didn't get shot himself. So in a way, congratulations to the police. But I'm kind of, what happened? What was he going on? What was he mad about? What was happening was you just had, that Mondragon, Christopher Mondragon killed Kenny John. So there's murderers around there, murderers who get away with murder, murderers who steal trucks, steal four-wheelers, steal trailers, and then they kill the person. So it's a dangerous neighborhood. Then you got Nazis, right-wing sovereign Confederates, KKK, and probably MS-13 and Bloods. I've heard of Crips. There's a bunch of tags all over the place with Crips. So it's a dangerous neighborhood, right? So we don't know what happens, if he had a justification for being mad, just like the knife guy. What was he mad about? What was he all pissed off? Did somebody steal something? Did someone attack him? What was he mad about? So you have this gentleman, this is Christopher Ocasio. Now, they heard the bullets whizzing by their head. Well, you're not allowed to do that, right? I mean, you can't shoot at the cops. Now, again, with Robert Thrash, his buddy, his partner, got shot. So it wasn't bullets whizzing by his head. The bullet went into his body. So with this guy, he had shot at the cops. The cops said that he had shot at them, and he got arrested. The cops didn't get arrested. Costilla County Sheriff's Office dispatched to a resident on Governor Road, 5 miles south of Fort Garland, Friday afternoon, September 9th, related to a report of an individual shooting at his neighbor. Upon arriving at the scene, a suspect identified as Christopher Ocasio began acting in a threatening manner. What is that? He stood tall. Upon arriving on the scene, another deputy arrived. Ocasio began shooting at the deputies. At the time, the deputies retreated for cover. He continued to fire his weapon. Additional officers, SWAT team comes. The situation becomes a standoff. After a three-hour standoff, Ocasio is taken into custody, transported to the jail. He's being held on numerous counts of suspicion of attempted murder. You just told me they just wrote down that he's shooting and then it's, alleged attempted. No, I guess it kind of is at this point. But the only way it wouldn't be is if it was like self-defense. But I guess it is kind of self-defense with the police. I want to know what precipitated right beforehand. Did the cop just call this, did somebody just call on this guy for no damn reason? Felony, menacing, reckless endangerment. The attempted murder is the bond was originally set at $150,000. However, due to the timing of the incident, a visiting judge reduced the bond to $50,000. That's more reasonable, and he wasn't able to pay the $50,000. So he stayed in the jail on a reduced bond. Danny Sanchez says that with the help of these agencies, a volatile situation was brought to a safe ending where nobody was hurt or killed and the suspect safely taken into custody. Here's another of the same article, but it just says no officers or residents were injured at the time. The suspect wasn't identified. They said the standoff lasted until 8:50 p.m. It started in, 7 miles south of Fort Garland at 4 p.m. There was an incident where somebody shot at the guy's gas tank. They were driving past the person, and they started shooting at the car, and they were shooting at the gas tank trying to get the car to blow up. This is what happens in the SLV. So you got this dangerous neighborhood, and the cops say that this guy or that person is the danger. He's the one that's, the bad guy. And then when you have a citizen, the bondsman, he gave the guy $1,000. He doesn't show up to the thing, And so he needs to get his money back, right? The guy didn't show up, so now he's out $1,000 for no damn reason. And the only way you get your money back is by getting the guy. And if the cops don't do a damn thing, you're just supposed to say, oh, well, I guess the dude fucking, if anything, you should elect Robert Thrash to be the new sheriff. Robert Thrash apparently knows right from wrong coming from a citizen's perspective. He doesn't have the awesome power of a police officer or a judge or a prosecutor. As a citizen, he knew what was right and what was wrong. And I bet you he's probably, mortified that all this situation turned out the way that it did. Bond set for Larry Chavez. So this guy just, let's see. I think that's enough for now. But just comparing and contrast. When it comes to a citizen doing the right thing and standing up for himself, people want to just blindly back the blue, thin blue line. When you just blindly back the blue like that, you're saying they can commit any crime that they want to, and you're okay with it. Or do you have a nice little fucking mansion? You're an oligarch, you're a plutocrat, so the cops, you don't see the corruption of the cops. The corruption of the cops ain't coming to your damn doorstep. And so if you're in a poor neighborhood that's, dangerous and you need the cops to be good, but the cops don't show up, the cops don't do their damn job, you're just supposed to let the criminals get away with their shit? This shit's happening in Guatemala, and what they did in Guatemala was you had the honest people just going around having vigilante brigades. Just walking around with vigilante brigades. We're the citizens' vigilante brigades. So you got your Confederates, your Nazis, you got your MS-13 and your Bloods and Crips, you got all these gangs. And then you have the good citizens. We want the good citizens to walk around. We want the good citizens to stand up for themselves. We want the good citizens to defend themselves and to defend others. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now, the mistake, I think there was a couple mistakes that, if I was to be critical of Robert Thrash's situation, there's the way that they did it. Maybe they could have done it differently, but I'm thinking of the whole judicial system behind it. So Michael Gonzales said that Phil Lucero was a bad guy. Michael Gonzales strung Phil Lucero along. Phil Lucero's dead body this is Michael Gonzales' fault. Over drugs? Marijuana is legal. Was it over marijuana? Because it's illegal in Alamosa, so therefore he wanted to fuck him over something that's legal across the state? And then what kind of drugs was it? Crack cocaine? Was it meth? Was it fentanyl? Or was it marijuana? Because marijuana is legal, but not legal in Alamosa. So therefore, if a cop wants to throw somebody in jail over marijuana from Alamosa, well, now Phil Lucero has to fucking goddamn look at marijuana charges when the entire state of Colorado is just fine and dandy with smoking all the marijuana in the fucking world. So he did the right thing. Robert Thrash, he looks at the system, and if, right is right and wrong is wrong, then the trial would acquit you. And that's essentially what had happened. Now, the judge and the prosecutor could have cheated and objected to a whole bunch of shit, and they're not concerned with the, being honest, and they're not concerned with the truth. And without the truth, how can you pursue justice? So I think good for Robert Thrash. As a citizen, he stood up. He did what was right. The court system had named Phil Lucero as the bad guy. So whether Robert Thrash, he determined. Here, let me read this quote from John Locke. It's about natural law. Man being born, as has been proved, with the title to perfect freedom and an uncontrolled enjoyment of all the rights and privileges of the law of nature, equally with any other man or number of men in the world, has by nature a power not only to preserve his property, that is, his life, liberty, and estate against the injuries and attempts of other men, but to judge of and punish the breaches of that law in others, as he is persuaded the offense deserves, even with death itself, and crimes where the heinousness of the fact, in his opinion, requires it. This is from the Second Treatise of Government. John Locke, basically the intellectual titan of the U.S. Revolution. This goes to justify the Glorious Revolution in England. I like the title, To Perfect Freedom. You're born to perfect freedom. So when he's, Ann Kelley's the district attorney, and she's like, well, I don't know what the law is when it comes to bondsmen. You don't know what the law is. You're the damn lawyer. Why don't you read some of the laws? She's never read she doesn't know a bunch of the Constitution. So I don't know if she's read the Constitution or not, but she hasn't memorized the Constitution. She doesn't know Section 13 of Colorado's Constitution. She doesn't know about the grand jury indictment of the Constitution. There's a bunch of parts of the Constitution that Ann Kelley has never paid attention to. And another thing, if you want us to know what is right and wrong and according to the eyes of the judge, it would be smart for Ann Kelley, Michael Gonzales, Krista Newmeyer Olson to tell us to don't abuse, don't torture, don't assault, steal, rape, don't murder, don't maim, don't arson, don't abuse, don't no adultery, love thy neighbor as thyself, honor family, mother and father, son and daughter, brother and sister, and never bear false witness. If I was to just say, those are the 12 laws for my district, those are my 12 priorities, well, now the cops know what's up, the citizens knows what's up. Any of the felonies are major crimes. You're looking at Donald, 34 felonies with Donald. If he doesn't even get a single day in jail, well, then the word felony don't mean a fucking thing. You could just say, somebody looked at you wrong. Well, that's a felony look. Oh, he was jaywalking. That was felony jaywalking. Shut the fuck up. There's a reason why we have petty offenses and fucking misdemeanors. We want the felons off the street. The people committing major violent fucking crimes, violent arsons, violent abuse, torture, assault, stealing, rapes, murders, maimings. We want those people off the streets. And thou shalt not bear false witness. If you try to say somebody did something and you're a liar and you're making the shit up, you should go to jail for the amount of years that the crime that you alleged. You're trying to put a man in jail for rape for 6 years, and it turns out you lied, and it was all bullshit, and you clearly lied. You perjured yourself right there on stand, just like To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm going to say this, and I ain't going to say nothing else. You should go to jail for the 6 years. You about got a man thrown in jail for 6 years because we believed you. And it turned out that you bared false witness. Now, just for the sake of civilization, you want strong marriages because you want strong families. So that's why you don't want adultery. And love thy neighbor as thyself. That's, don't be bad, but be good. Be good. Honor not just thy mother and father, but also thy son and thy daughter, and thy brother and thy sister. Honor the whole damn family. So the 10 Commandments comes close. It comes close. So, if you're Christians, just, you can just say, do the 10 Commandments. There's corresponding laws with the 10 Commandments in Colorado law. So it would be nice if the DA or the judge or the cops would say, here's what I think is right, here's what I think is wrong. I'm going to make a big priority with those who maim and abuse and rape and murder and assault. No physical assaults, no sexual assaults. And that's against anybody. Definitely not against adults, but also not against children, not against old people, not against corpses. Don't maim, don't torture, don't abuse. Don't steal, don't arson, don't assault, don't murder. These are the priorities. If I'm in the district and I say these are my priorities, then everybody hears me. Everybody pays attention. And now we're on the same damn page. But because of the way our system is, a cop could arrest you for jaywalking, say that it was attempted murder, and then the DA is going to try to push attempted murder charge. Well, you were kidnapped, and so therefore I'm going to try to push it hard as I can to justify and excuse and rationalize what the cop did. We don't need justifiers, rationalizers, excusers. Get to the truth. Cops can do bad just as good. It's just as possible for a cop to do evil as it is for a citizen to do good. So it's not about the thin blue line. There's good cops out there that stand up, put their life on the lines for other people's problems, but there's also good citizens. And we need to be empowered as citizens to be able to stand up and do what is right. When the cops don't do their damn jobs, then we should be empowered to do what we think is right. And if there is no law, then it goes to natural law. And natural law says I get to determine what the situation is, what the offense is, and what the punishment is. So since Ann Kelley admits that she's confused when it comes to the law, well, hell, maybe Robert Thrash was acting on natural law. This guy did wrong. I'm going there to get the money or to get him to go to jail. The cops aren't doing a damn thing. I need to get my money back. A situation occurred, his friend got shot at, and now he's fucking arrested. It shows how Alamosa police, them motherfuckers will defend banksters. A bank will rob people and they'll defend the banksters. I've actually seen this shit. A bank tried to steal $2,000 and the cops are on the side of the banksters. So cops can be it's just as likely for a citizen to be good as it is for a cop to be bad. That's why we need jury trials. And a jury trial is a jury of our peers, 12 people looking at the situation. If you're on a jury, you can do what you want. Don't even listen to the fucking judge and prosecutor. You give the verdict that you think is best, and you even recommend what you think the sentence should be. Or tell them what you think the sentence should be. Because it's like, oh, just say guilty to the person and let me sentence him later on. Well, what if you think that just a slap on the wrist, a warning, and get the hell out of here? Well, then that means you should say not guilty. If the motherfucker's going to, Donald Trump has 34 felonies. If he was to get the maximum 4 years per felony, well, he's going to be in jail for over 130 years. So if you're a juror and you're just saying, okay, well, did he falsify business records? Well, he did. And so you went ahead and said he was guilty, and now the judge is a little, squirt, and he wants to be a tough guy, so he's going to throw him in jail for 130 years. But if you're a jury and you saw how this was all bullshit, well, maybe determine, is it a big deal or not? Yeah, he falsified business records, but it was to pay a porn star. He's married. He didn't want the porn star to, his wife to know about it. He paid her 130. Where's the injury? Who is injured and where's the injury at? Just the trust of what our politicians, oh, I don't know if we could trust our politicians. When have we? They're all liars, right? Read my lips. No new taxes. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. WMDs, he's got them. Saddam Hussein, he's got the WMDs. He's got them. Get the fuck out of here, So anyways, good on Robert Thrash. He should be the new sheriff of Alamosa or the police department. They should definitely hire him as a police officer. He's a calm and intelligent man. He did what was right. And instead of him just being a citizen and hoping that the damn system will, defend his righteousness, as a police officer, he'll just have a license to kill. He'll have a license to do it all. But we know when he didn't have power, he stood up, he was courageous, he did the right thing. And so the hope is, with power, that he'll continue to be the same person that he was from before. A cop who's always had all the power in the world, well, they think they could get away with all this shit in the world. So do we even know if they were good to begin with? We know at least that Robert Thrash. And when I look at the history of the SLV, there was people that look like Robert Thrash, one of the first pioneers. Look like a Robert Thrash. So, yeah. And there was a problem with criminals then. You had to have the vigilante brigades and the court marshals and shit. So anyways, good on Robert Thrash. R.I.P. to Phil Lucero. And Michael Gonzales should stop being a fucking twat to, people over marijuana. Peace.